So how does life really change if you retire with $500,000, $1 million, or even $5 million? I've been a financial advisor for over 20 years now. I've helped all three of those categories. And in today's video, I'm going to share with you what life looks like for those different categories. And then if you want to move from one to the other, some thoughts on how you can get there. So let's jump in. The first one is $500,000. You've retired with $500,000. Why do I say $500,000? Well, according to the most recent Survey Consumer Finance report that's put out by the Federal Reserve, the median household in the United States has a median net worth of $365,000 when they're between 55 and 64. And then that goes up to about $410,000. It peaks out there. So that's why I picked 500,000. It's the median. And so if you're in that group, it means you're doing better than half of all Americans at your age. So congratulations. And what does that life look like? So I'm making some assumptions here that this person is married. Let's go by the name of Alan. And Alan is married. He and his spouse have $500,000. And their Social Security combined between the two of them is $2,500 a month. So they're getting $30,000 a year from Social Security. And then on top of that, just for easy math, let's use the 4% rule, which says from your savings, you can safely spend 4% of it if it's invested roughly 60% in stocks, 40% in bonds. You can invest 4% of it a year. This is not financial advice, but it's a decent rule of thumb that was developed in 1994 by Bill Bengen. It's used in the industry. So 4% of $500,000 is $20,000. So between the Social Security of 30 and the $20,000 off of their investments, they're making $50,000 a year. And if you look at the average retiree's spending, this is according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average total expenditures for people over 65 is a little less than $60,000 a year. It's $57,000 for a household, $57,818. And for people that are under 65, it's almost $80,000, $78,691. So in this case, Alan is still short by almost $8,000. So they have enough money. They're likely going to be fine. They're going to live a comfortable retirement, but there's not going to be a lot of extra there because they are still short. Now, a couple things. Where did I get the Social Security number? According to the Social Security Administration, the average monthly check for a retiree is $1,907. That changes every month, but this is as of January of 2024. And so I assumed one of the spouses had the higher earning, the other one had a lower earning, so $2,500 a month fell into the ballpark. And this also coincides with what the average retiree income is. This is according to an article by the Motley Fool. This is the average income for retirees. And you can see this is by year. So in 2012, it was, let's call it $33,000. And then in 2022, the most recent data they have, it was right at $50,000. And then this is the breakout by gender. I encourage you to use the median, which is half the people have more, half the people have less. So men, the median retirement income is a little over $30,000, and for women it's a little over $27,000, so a $4,000 gap there. So what does it look like to have a $500,000 retirement? I think you're safe, I think you're comfortable, I think you're secure, but there's not a lot of extras. You're probably taking a couple vacations a year. One of them's probably by car, one by plane. So you have enough for the things that are important in bringing you joy, but you may not have a lot of extra. Okay, so that's the $500,000 retirement. Now I want to introduce you to Mike. And Mike has $1 million saved, also married, and I'm going to assume Social Security of $3,000 for Mike and his spouse. So if we get $3,000 a year from Social Security, that's $36,000. And now from $1 million using that 4% rule, that's $40,000. So together, he's got, between Social Security and the money coming off of his investments, he's got $76,000 a year, but he's got to pay tax on that. So what's Mike's situation? You know, first off, Mike's in a very nice place. How many people really save $1 million for retirement? According to this article by the the ascent, it's not as many as you would think. So from 0 to 10,000 saved in retirement. So this is IRAs, 401ks, 403bs, retirement type accounts where you get a tax break to have it. Almost 60% of Americans have less than $10,000 saved in retirement accounts. And then 10,000 to 100,000, it's another 20%. So now we're at almost 80% of Americans have less than $100,000 saved in retirement accounts. Doesn't mean they don't have money in a taxable brokerage account or a taxable bank account. And then $1 million to $5 million, that's 3.1% of all Americans. You know, how many millionaires, so that's just in retirement accounts, but how many millionaires overall, not just retirees, but overall are there in the United States? And it's about 12 million overall. So there's 350 million households in the US roughly. So let's say it's like 1 in 30 U.S. households, so 3%, it passes my sniff test, have a net worth of $1 million or more, and that would include their home. Okay, so let's see, we were talking about Mike. So Mike, between Social Security of $30,000 and being able to take $40,000 a year out from his savings and investments, he's got $70,000 a year in income. So how does this place him from an income category of other 65-plus-year-olds? The website for this source is a little weird, but they do have good data. It's called Don't Quit Your Day Job, and it goes by the acronym DQYDJ.com. What I like about this is it breaks it out by quartile. Where are you by quartile? So we saw earlier when we started with $500,000 and we're looking at that, we saw that was $50,000 that Alan had. And so we come down here and we look at this quartile, and so $50,000 places Alan right about at the median, just a tad less than the median. And now we've got $70,000, so Mike is somewhere between the median and the upper quartile. So that's where he's at, and you know, for this, he's probably taking a couple nice vacations a year. He's living comfortably. He lives in a house in a nice neighborhood probably. He and his spouse can comfortably buy a new car every 5 to 7 years. So they're living not just comfortably, but very comfortably. But there's not much more. They don't have a big buffer. So in many ways, $1 million is kind of the benchmark for a comfortable, kind of worry-free retirement where you don't have to worry about unexpected surprises coming up from a financial standpoint. Both Alan and Mike probably love their lives and they consider themselves very grateful for what they have. Mike has a few less worries and has a little bit extra for a buffer than Alan. Alan is living closer to the edge and may have to spend some money that he and his spouse were hoping to not have to spend until later in their life. So that's Mike. Now let's go to the next category. What does a $5 million retirement look like? So let me introduce you to Rick. Rick and his spouse have $5 million. Because they have so much in assets, they're not going to take Social Security until they're 70. And at 70, the maximum Social Security amount is a little over $3,800. It's $3,822. I'm sorry, it's almost $5,000. That's at your full retirement. That $3,822 was if you retired and started taking Social Security at 62. But because Rick has $5 million and doesn't really need Social Security, he might be continuing to work and he doesn't want that penalty. He's waiting until 70 and going to get a Social Security check of almost $5,000 a month, $4,873. So let's assume that they get that. And then his spouse, between him and his spouse, he's making another $2,000 in Social Security. Let's call it $5,700 a month. So that's $68,400 a year in Social Security alone. And on top of that, because of the $5 million, the 4% rule would say he and his spouse can spend an extra $200,000 from their investments. So now they've got almost $270,000 coming in. That's a lot of money. They're living very comfortably. They can easily pay their taxes. They can easily cover what the median household spends once they're 65 and older. They can probably occasionally travel first class. They can buy a nice new car every 3, 4, or 5 years, whatever they want. Again, several nice vacations a year. They can splurge for a concierge doctor so that they don't have to worry about waiting a month to being able to see their physician. They can have the best supplement plans on Medicare. So they have a lot more breathing room, and they can also use some of their excess money if they want to support causes that they care about, to help out their adult kids, to help them with education. And that's what I see as people's net worth increases as far as helping their kids. They want to help their kids get the foundation so that they can carve a path on their own. Many folks with $5 million are self-made. It wasn't handed to them. In fact, Dave Ramsey does a study, a millionaire study, and what he found is over 80% of all millionaires in America are self-made. And the ones that did get an inheritance, it was a relatively small amount, under $100,000. So families with $5 million when they retire can afford to, support their kids if they want to go back to grad school, maybe support the grandkids if that's something that's important to them, going to private schools, in high school, in middle school, maybe help pay for college as well. So what does that life look like? That life looks like too many financial worries. Doesn't mean they don't have any worries. There's a saying, I'm paraphrasing it here, but if money can solve your problem, you don't have a problem. And what that means is the real serious problems, particularly as we age, maybe losing a spouse, losing our health. Getting old is not for the faint at heart. So we all have to travel that journey ourselves as well. Money, unfortunately, doesn't solve that issue, or probably fortunately, it's probably a good thing that at some point we all expire and it's time to hand the torch over to the next generation. So these are the different ways that it looks. Again, we've got Rick, we've got Mike, and we've got Alan, and all three of them are enjoying life and enjoying different things in life. But the important thing is, if you've got that 500,000, you're already in the upper median of the United States. And just to be glad for the work that past you did to get you where you're at. And if you're here, if you're at this point from a financial standpoint, but you're still not sure you want to retire, that's why I did this video up here. Why retiring at 65 is a big mistake. It's my case laid out to think about retiring sooner rather than later. So I'll see you in that video. Thanks for watching this. Bye-bye.